Kogami and Makishima read the same books. They quote the same philosophers, and they reached the same verdict about the system that runs their world. It's broken, and it cannot see what a human being actually is. They agree about everything, except one thing, and that one disagreement, a single premise, the smallest possible gap between two minds, put them on opposite ends of a gun. Start by demolishing the frame everyone brings to this pairing, the detective and the criminal, the lawman and the outlaw. It doesn't survive 5 minutes of honest attention, because Kogami is not defending the system. Watch him closely across the season. He is not Makishima's opposite in any of the ways the premise pretends. He knows Sibyl is broken. He knows it long before the story confirms it, and the story confirms it to him personally. The system failed Sasayama, failed the victims, failed him. By the time the hunt reaches its end, Kogami has made his peace with something no loyal enforcer could survive believing, that the law and justice are not the same thing, and when they diverge, he will break the law, willingly, without ceremony. That's not a cop. That's a man using a badge the way you'd use a borrowed coat, for as long as it's useful, and not 1 minute longer. So, the real picture is this: two men standing outside the same broken machine, holding the same diagnosis. The system cannot see souls. It measures something, but whatever it measures, it is not what a person is worth. They agree on the disease. They disagree about the patient. Here is the entire difference between Kogami and Makishima, and it fits in one sentence. Makishima looks at humanity, sedated, outsourced, letting a machine decide what to feel and who to be, and concludes that people, as they are not worth protecting. What he loves is an idea of humanity, willful, choosing, awake. The actual humans in front of him disgust him, and every atrocity he engineers is an argument, a demonstration, a shock meant to wake the species up to what it has surrendered. He doesn't need the system to be wrong. He knows it's wrong. He just needs everyone else to see it too. And he's willing to burn people alive as the lesson. Kogami looks at the same sedated humanity, the same outsourced souls, the same people who would report their own neighbor to a scanner, and arrives somewhere Makishima finds incomprehensible. They still need to be protected, not because they've earned it, not because the system deserves defending. He knows it doesn't, not even because they'd thank him. Kogami protects people the way Thor's farms or Musashi walks, because it is what he is underneath every institution that failed him. Strip away the badge, the department, the law, and what remains of Kogami is a man whose entire existence bends toward standing between people and the things that would destroy them. Same diagnosis, opposite prescriptions, and the difference was never intelligence or method or courage. They match each other perfectly on all three. The difference is faith. Makishima believes in what humanity could be and despises what it is. Kogami protects what it is without needing it to be anything more. One premise, the whole moral universe between them. Now the uncomfortable part, because the story is honest about Kogami in a way most heroes never get. Ask what the hunt is actually for. At the beginning, the answer is clean for the victims. For Sasayama, the colleague the system discarded, the case that was buried, the debt that was never paid. A moral object, a righteous hunt. But watch what happens as the story progresses. The hunt stops being about Sasayama and starts being about the hunter. the nightmares, the guilt that doesn't discharge, the obsession that grows past every professional boundary until Kogami is risking everything, his status, his freedom, Akane's trust, for one man's death. And here is the detail that elevates the whole story. Makishima sees it. The villain diagnoses the hero better than the system ever could. Makishima understands that Kogami wants him so desperately because somewhere in that want lives a hope that if the man dies, the guilt dies with him, that the nightmares stop, that the kill is a cure. Sibyl scanned Kogami every day of his working life and never saw that. Makishima saw it across a chessboard. That's why Akane is so afraid for him. And Akane matters here more than she's usually given credit for. She is the only judgment Kogami respects. Everyone else's opinion of him is irrelevant. Hers is the one mirror he still checks, because she reminds him of who he was, the version of himself before the fall. And she is, in her own quiet way, outside the broken system too. The system's third anomaly, the one whose hue stays clear, not because she feels nothing, but because she has something neither man has, a center that horror cannot move. So pause on this, because it isn't just Kogami's problem. How much of what you call purpose is actually an attempt to make something stop? The guilt, the noise, the thing you don't sleep well next to. Kogami called it justice for years. It took his enemy, not his system, not his colleagues, his enemy, to name what it actually was. Sometimes the person who sees you clearest is the one you're aiming at. Kogami corners Makishima. Akane pleads for the law, capture, judgment, the system's version of justice. And Kogami, outside every institution, as nothing but himself, pulls the trigger. The standard reading says, this is the moment Kogami becomes what he hunted, that he crossed Makishima's line, joined him on the far side of it, proved the villain's point. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think the kill changed anything. And I mean that precisely. It didn't change what was already done. The dead stayed dead. The guilt didn't dissolve. The nightmares were never going to end with a bullet, and somewhere underneath the obsession, Kogami likely knew it. And it didn't change what he is at his core, because his core was never Makishima's enemy. It was protector. The target was temporary. The function is permanent. What the trigger actually did was simpler and stranger. It freed him. It cut the last tether to a system he had stopped believing in long before. After that shot, there is no badge to return to, no institution to pretend loyalty to, no borrowed coat left. What walks away from that field is Kogami reduced to only what he actually is. A man who protects people, now operating outside every structure that ever claimed to define him. He didn't lose his purpose when Makishima died. That's the point. If Makishima had been his purpose, the death would have hollowed him. Instead, he keeps doing the only thing he ever did, standing between people and what would destroy them, just without permission now. Makishima was never the purpose. He was the door. One last thing, because the system's verdicts on these two men are the quiet thesis of the whole story. Sibyl looked at the worst man in its world and saw nothing wrong, clear hue, criminally asymptomatic. And when the system finally understood what Makishima was, its response wasn't judgment. It wanted to recruit him. Because the reveal underneath the whole season is that Sibyl is built out of minds like his. The machine doesn't punish what it recognizes as itself. Then it looked at the best man in its world and gave him a number, and the number said criminal, rising coefficient, latent threat, irrecoverable. The system read Kogami his entire working life, measured him constantly, and every measurement missed the only thing that defined him. That's not a blind spot. That's an inversion. The predator cleared, the protector condemned. Two men separated by the one thing that actually matters, whether people are worth protecting. And the machine's readings sorted them backwards, which means whatever Sibyl measures, stress, deviation, the shape of a psyche, it is not measuring that. The system can quantify everything about a person except the only thing that distinguishes a protector from a predator. It read them both perfectly and understood neither. Two men outside the same broken machine, same books, same verdict, same clarity about the lie their world runs on. If you listed everything they believed, the lists would match line for line until the last line. Is humanity, as it actually is, sedated, flawed, undeserving, still worth protecting? Makishima said no, and became the most honest monster his world ever produced. Kogami said yes, and it cost him everything the system could take, and none of what mattered. The smallest disagreement two minds can have. One premise, and it turned out to be the entire difference between a man who burns people to wake them up and a man who stands in front of the fire. The machine that judged their whole world couldn't see it, which tells you everything about what machines can measure and everything about what they can't. Build quietly. Walk your path.